everybody, which saddens me because I love to be live with you guys. But let's just give it a start anyway, right? It's a good day to have a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are talking Summer House, the reunion, part 3. What did you all think about it? You know, frustrating comes to mind. I mean, Amanda and Wes, they were so stoic. I mean, I know Andy questioned at one point to Wes, like, have you been taking beta blockers? Like, I don't even think Valium would do how they were acting, how they were responding to things. I mean, she's just like staring out. She's almost like she's a victim, like scared to answer a question. So she's just like, you know what I mean? Crazy. Did you guys see that we are now getting a bonus episode next week? I'm not really into this bonus episode. What do you guys think? Number one, she gives that evil look again when Lindsay says, well, he said that you were obsessed with him. She's like, that look she gives. But we all know it's a crock of crap because we just saw pictures of her spitting food into his mouth in Italy. And I just want to I know I said this in my podcast earlier this week, and we're going to go over the timeline, but I just want to put it out there that when you go to a wedding, a destination wedding, that is RSVP'd like months and months in advance. You don't just go on a whim. You know what I mean? And even though I know that apparently it was his, someone in his family getting married, you still don't go on a whim. They need to know ahead of time if you're having a +1 or not. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? Well, I can tell you that the reunion picked up. Remember, Sierra, everyone was on break and Sierra was on the phone with Meija, which, by the way, we see Meija in the bonus episode next week. I wouldn't really be mad at the fact if she joined Summer House. I'd be pretty happy with that. What do you guys think? I mean, she's a beautiful girl. She seems to have a personality. Everybody seems to get along with her. Because, I don't know. I don't see Amanda and Wes living in the house with everyone. I mean, wouldn't that be weird? Well, then again, the whole situation's weird. What can I say, right? But this episode started out with Bailey. She invites Amanda to sit down next to her. And she says, I'm really worried about you, and Amanda's like, yeah, I know. That's what you said in your text. And then Bailey's like, yeah, I really am worried about you, and, Amanda, just even by the way she's responding to Bailey, it's like, hi, Amanda, we're on Earth. Come down. We're right here, talking about the crap that you stirred up. Yeah, that would be it. She said that, that no one's really like listening to her on stage, so it's kind of frustrating. Well, everyone's listening. She's just not saying anything. And neither is he, for that matter. And even Bailey says to Amanda, I don't trust him, And Amanda says, that's okay. Okay, Amanda. She's like, but it's hard for me to sit on this stage. No one's listening. Then, Lindsay's like joking around with Carl and Jesse because they're 6'5", and she's like, you both are the same height, but yet you're a little slumpy. Which I thought was hysterical, actually, to be quite honest. Even Kyle's like, not every 6'5" guy is like built the same, And so Andy says, let's get to the bottom of this here, So at one point, did it start to feel more like a friendship? And Wes says, well, they started going out like around February, March. They were going out with most of his friends, which are mutual friends of Amanda's. And they were having fun. And, he kind of took it personal because he saw Amanda finally being happy. Again, we're going back to that timeline, people, because I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I do not believe it. Andy says to Amanda, what about you? What shifted for you? And she said, well, it wasn't just one thing. I think just one night we were talking and he was kind of like, am I crazy here? Or is something going on here? Andy says, so let's be clear. Did you have an affair this summer? And they both are adamant, like, no. I don't think they did either. I don't think that they were physically having an affair, but you better bet your bottom dollar that they were having one emotionally. And guess what? Wes admitted to it. Let's give him a round of applause for that. It's about time at least one of them admitted to something. What do you guys think? And Wes says, no, they did not have an affair. And he goes, look, I know I've lied. I know no one trusts me, trusts us with our answers. And, Jesse, God love Jesse. Poor thing. I think he cried through the entire reunion. But, they're all talking about the fact that, like even Sierra brought it up, like they were making this out of a game, like on Instagram. I mean, they really were breadcrumbing everybody. And on Watch What Happens Live, Mia said that she thought something happened in the summer, going back and watching the episodes. And Mia even says, look, I'll give you even a for instance of why I even think this way. She's like, when Carl and Kyle were fighting outside, Amanda, you were talking to me and Sierra in the kitchen, and you were all calm, cool, and all that. She said, but then you run into Wes and you like run into his arms and give him this big embrace and you start crying. And she said the same night when you went outside to talk to Kyle, Wes followed behind you and he went to grab you and he was grabbing you like, whoa, there's my microphone. I told you it's getting ready to storm here. But she's like, you grabbed him, like you grabbed her near her breast. I don't think you would do that to me. I don't think you would do that to Lindsay. And in the footage, you see him. And I said this before when I was reporting on it, like between all the kissing on the forehead and the private conversations, like even that night, the night of the fight, all of a sudden, like Wes is outside and he's like texting a mile a minute. Who do you think he was texting? I think he was texting her. Like, are you okay? Seriously, I do. And, Mia also says, that, Amanda is acting like a victim. She is. She is acting like a straight up victim, and it's frustrating. Like this last part of this reunion, like I really thought that maybe we would get answers. But when the cast is frustrated because they're not getting answers, there's a problem. I'm just saying. Andy also asked Wes, did you have a crush on her last summer? Wes is like, no, but we got much closer. This is when I think that Wes really wants to like stop lying and just wants to get it all out on the table. And Amanda's like, we're sticking to our story. Did you get that impression? Like, that's the impression I got. But Amanda is like, no, I'm not a effing cheater. I'm not going to do things that are inappropriate. Are you kidding me? Like, you have been so appropriate this whole time, Amanda. I mean, she's just like a walking contradiction at this point. Even Lindsay says, we don't think that you were screwing around, but we do think that there was like an emotional connection between the two of you that was developing. And this is where, brace yourself, this is where Wes decides to fess up. And he says, we definitely became closer over the summer. Remember when I told you, I don't know if it was part 1 or part 2, where Amanda is talking to Sierra and she's talking about going out with Wes. She goes, we only went out a couple times for drinks. I'm telling you, it was during the summer. I'm serious. And then, finally Lindsay's like, well, finally we're getting somewhere, Amanda right away is like, yeah, we became closer, but not in a romantic way. And this whole thing was so frustrating. So then, like, Kyle's like, I got a question for you. Just one last question. He must have had like 100 one last questions. He says, remember Brianna Chicken Fry, told Dave that at Super Bowl that you guys were together. Now, Super Bowl was February 3rd. They put their statement out January 19th. So there was only like a couple week difference here. He's like, so why are your friends thinking something's going on between the two of you then? And he point blank asked, like, were you physical in 2025? And they both were like, no. And Lindsay looks at Kyle and she's like, an emotional affair is worse. And I don't know if you heard this, but under Kyle's breath, he says, yeah, but we're never going to be able to prove it. So basically, he's just going for the basics at this point. Which is true, and then of course, Amanda goes on, I'm trying to figure things out and talking about the whole Meja situation and, poor Meja. Like, she got dragged into this and didn't even realize she was going to be dragged into it, But, Mia even asks, like, so let me get this right. Like, were you guys going to fess up that you guys were together? Or did you only fess up because of, the pressure and, all the different, rumors going around and everything? And Amanda is flat out like, yeah, basically we weren't going to tell you a thing, and Mia was trying to get it out. Like, so this had nothing to do with Sierra and your friendship with Sierra? Amanda's like, nope, sorry, I did you wrong, girl, but, I've got the man in my dreams now. And, even, when Wes is talking about Meja, it's this whole like exclusive thing. Were you exclusive? He must have answered this 3 different ways. No, we weren't exclusive. Well, we weren't really exclusive. Well, she kind of thought we were exclusive. but we weren't exclusive. Like, and Sierra's like, you're lying. Like, you sent her, Valentine's Day flowers. And he's saying, oh, well, we kind of called it off in November or December. Well, they even show a picture of these two, like, laying in bed or laying down somewhere together in December of 2025. They look happy. I'm just saying. I mean, this whole reunion was just a joke. Like, even Lindsay saying, like, I didn't get any answers. I didn't get any answers either. What did you guys think? Like, it was frustrating. It really was frustrating, and I'm kind of skipping through this because I am getting a storm here, so I am kind of skipping through this, but I'm trying to hit all the important parts here. Andy's asking, like, have they been monogamous with each other? Wes is like, well, he goes to say yeah, and then he's like, well, like, don't want to get caught in another lie. So he's like, well, we haven't been monogamous like when we express feelings. We became monogamous after the statement went out. I mean, everything to these two is when the statement went out. Have you noticed that? Like, we didn't sleep together till after the statement went out, which is, you and I both know that's a lie too. Give me a break. Who puts a statement out for the whole free world to read and you haven't even hooked up? Give me a break. And remember too that Kyle, when it came to their statement, Kyle was like, that Amanda was like rushing him. Like, there wasn't even a conversation. It was kind of like, we're going to put it out. We're going to put it out right today, blah, 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 blah. And I'm telling you, that's when things heated up between these two. And that's why she wanted to make sure that that statement went out, because she doesn't want to be a cheater. Because what did she whine throughout this entire reunion about? I was cheated on. I was hurting. I'm serious. Even Sierra brings up the fact that these two were bragging about it. And apparently on Instagram, like, Amanda did this, like, 20 picture carousel of her and Wes. And then at the end, she was like, and I care about it like this much, And at first, Amanda's like, you guys, you just read into everything. And then as soon as Kyle, like, explained, like, these were all pictures of Wes, and that's how you ended the post, then she changed her tune. And she was like, oh, yeah, well, that was a mistake. Yeah, that was a biggie. That was a real biggie. We also start talking about, like, the friendship between her and Sierra. That, like, we find out that Amanda hasn't even watched the damn show. Like, here's Sierra breaking down in tears about describing what it was like to watch that last episode where she's saying goodbye to her friend, and she's telling her, like, you're beautiful, you have a voice, your voice matters. Remember all that she was saying? And Sierra said that, they had such a great summer, but there did feel like there was going to be a pivot. Probably not the pivot she thought, but she was probably thinking the pivot of being, something was going to happen between her and Kyle. And maybe they might not return to the house next summer as a couple, but listening to Sierra, like, my heart was breaking, I mean, she could barely get out how she was feeling watching this episode, only to find out that Amanda hasn't even watched the damn show. That's ridiculous. I mean, everybody's expressions was like, oh, God, And then she has to go through this whole drawn out, reason of the internet's been dragging me and I just couldn't do it and I'll eventually watch it. Yeah, when it's too late, Yeah, I guess you are going to watch it. But we really didn't find out very much, I mean, Jesse kept crying. God love him. He's saying that, number one, this happened to him last summer. Carl explained that, he had a best friend who wound up, I guess, seeing this girl that Jesse was with. And so he knows how it feels. And now he's the best friend of someone who is banging his best friend's ex. I mean, ex-wife. I mean, what more could you? They're still married, for crying out loud. They're still married. But I didn't really feel like we got that much out of it, But let's just talk for a second, because I think this will be more interesting than recapping this, because we didn't get anything else extra out of them. But I do want to talk about the timeline, okay? So January 19th is when Amanda and Kyle put out their statement that, they're separating, okay? Now, everybody keeps putting this emphasis on Super Bowl, which was February 3rd, and apparently these two were together. Lots of people are saying this, apparently, on February 3rd, that they were already together, okay? Now, that kind of explains the fact of why she was trying to rush through it, right? But remember what Amanda said about New Year's Day? So she said that New Year's Eve, Kyle was DJing at a restaurant. She was supposed to be with him. She didn't go. She spent New Year's all by her little lonesome. He was pissed that she didn't come out. He wound up staying in a hotel in Hoboken. Doesn't mean he was with anybody. I mean, it was New Year's. I wouldn't drive, But listen to this. If you look under Wes's Instagram, okay, there is a picture from him on New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, rather, okay? And it's him and some guy standing there. But if you look closely, you see Amanda's jacket. Seriously. Now, I know what you're about to say. They could make 1 million of those jackets, right? You're absolutely correct. But do you really think that's a coincidence that exact jacket is hanging over a chair on New Year's when she decided not to go with her husband? And then all of a sudden she's got to rush this statement out. We got to get the statement out. We got to get this statement out. I'm telling you, that's when they became physical. That's just my opinion. I'm just saying. But that's when I think they got physical. This whole baloney of, well, we didn't really get together till February or March is for the birds. And didn't you die when Kyle was saying that he was texting Wes about his sex life while Wes was with Amanda? Didn't expect that, did ya? Me neither. Holy crap. But did we learn anything? No. Are these two going to admit to anything? No. Do you think they'll be back on Summer House next year? I don't know. I don't know how that can work. I really don't. It would be awkward and uncomfortable, but it would make for a good storyline. So that's true, And I'm pretty sure Sierra's going to come back because she'll be back in time from Fiji in time to film Summer House. And I love how she posted the whole definition of beta blockers because these two were just completely like, didn't you want to send SOS signals to them? Like, hello, come back to us, come back to the stage. Nuts. But are they ever going to admit anything? No. And I'm really frustrated with this whole bonus episode because we already know that's a bunch of baloney too. Because like I said, we've seen pictures just this past week of her, yes, I'm saying this correctly, spitting food into his mouth. Ugh, in Italy. So they are together. I mean, hey, maybe I'll ask her to marry him at the summer house too, just like Kyle did. What do you guys think? It's a little nuts. Jesse's on tour. He's doing a great job. What do you guys think of In the City? I'm enjoying it. I didn't think I was going to like it. But again, here we are again. In the City. Last week, not this past episode, but the episode before that. Sierra and Wes come to see Amanda, and she's like, oh, I got a new apartment. Did you notice, like, the way they were looking at each other? Like, I'm not reading into this. I'm telling you. Things were happening. Ooh, things were happening. I'm not saying physical, but things were definitely happening. And poor Sierra, she's out of the loop completely. Well, why would you expect that of your best friend? No, of course not. But Lindsay made a good point. From these two messing around, it has affected people's lives, people's relationships, people's careers. It's true. It's really true. And now Wes is taking it a whole other step. He had that podcast, like a sports podcast, but now he's doing a podcast recapping Summer House, I guess. Everybody wants to be a podcaster. But I am enjoying In the City. I really am. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a good cast. It's just frustrating. Like, when the producer says to Amanda, let's talk about this. She's like, okay. Were you guys together? No. Were you thinking about him when you shot this scene? No. I mean, frustrating. I mean, it's worse than Scandival. At least Tom Sandoval and Raquel, they at least pretended that they liked each other. These two are on stage like, well, actually, that's more like her, finger in the mouth, staring off. And I mean, he looks like a puppy that's peed on the floor and he's about to get in trouble. That's what he reminds me of. But what did you guys think? What do you think of this bonus episode? I definitely wasn't expecting that at all. You know what I mean? Wasn't expecting it for sure. But I'm going to cut this short. I'm so sorry, my breakers. I don't want to cut this short, but there's a huge storm going on. But I love having a chat with you. I'm going to try and drop back in again with some hot tea because, do I have some tea about Real Housewives of New Jersey and Real Housewives of Rhode Island. I'll tease you. Ready? I'll give you one little bit of tea I have. Ready? So Real Housewives of New Jersey, get this. Allegedly, I'm going to put allegedly on this. Dolores Catania's ex-husband, you know who I'm talking about, right? Mr. Catania himself will not be filming this season, and allegedly it's because Teresa didn't want him to. Because, the new Teresa that doesn't hold grudges or anything, well, apparently she's holding a grudge. Surprised? And that stems back from basically like what he was talking about Louis and the whole job situation with the son. And so in order to talk about that, he had to badmouth Louis. Remember all that? Yeah, God forbid anybody even look at Louis sideways. You know what I mean? So there's just a little bit of tea for you. But, oh, do I have more? So I'm going to try and get back on here to dish some tea. What do you think, breakers? So make sure that you make sure that you follow me right here on TikTok at Breaking the Dish so that you can find out when I go live right here on TikTok and you won't miss anything, right? Because what do, breakers? We break the dish, right? We dish out the tea. You don't want to miss that on this. All right, everyone. Have a great evening and we will chat soon. Bye-bye.